General Marcus Hayes had sent thousands of soldiers into combat. He'd written condolence letters to hundreds of families. But nothing prepared him for the moment a hospital coordinator handed him a tablet and said, "Sir, there's something you need to see about Private First Class Sarah Hayes." On the screen was his daughter, the one he thought was in college. Unconscious, bandaged, and wearing a uniform he never knew she'd put on. The tablet slipped in his grip. Not much, just enough for the coordinator to notice. General Hayes had steadied his hands through mortar fire, through briefings where he sent men to die, through flag-draped coffins and grieving widows. But this made his fingers forget how to hold weight. When? His voice came out flat, stripped of the command that usually lived there. 3 hours ago, sir. ID strike outside Ramadi. Her convoy was ambushed during a supply run. Supply run. His daughter. The words wouldn't fit together in his mind. Sarah was supposed to be in her sophomore year at Georgetown, studying international relations, safely wrapped in lecture halls and coffee shops 3,000 miles from anything that exploded. Condition. Stable, sir. Concussion. Fractured ribs. Shrapnel wounds to her left shoulder and leg. She was lucky. Lucky. Hayes stared at the screen. At the face he'd kissed goodnight for 18 years. At the blood-matted hair he used to braid when she was 7. At the dog tags he'd never authorized resting against a throat he'd once checked for fever with the back of his hand. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to Veteran Heroes Stories so you never miss these true tales of courage. And tell us in the comments, where are you watching from today? The last time General Marcus Hayes had seen his daughter, she'd been loading boxes into a car outside their Virginia home. August heat. Moving day. He'd helped carry her books, made jokes about her overpacking, slipped $200 into her hand when her mother wasn't looking. "Make good choices, kiddo," he'd said. "Always do, Dad." She'd smiled. That smile he'd trusted for 19 years. The one that got her out of speeding tickets and into advanced classes. The one that apparently hid enlistment papers and a deployment timeline. Now, in a field hospital 7,000 miles from that driveway, machines beeped her heartbeat into a rhythm he didn't recognize. He stood at the entrance to her tent, ribbons on his chest catching fluorescent light, stars on his collar meaning nothing. A nurse glanced up, started to salute, saw his face, and quietly turned back to her charts. Hayes approached the bed the way you approach an unexploded device. Each step measured, each breath controlled. She looked smaller than he remembered. Pain and morphine had softened her features into something young again. Something that belonged in a dorm room, not under gauze and antiseptic. Her eyes opened, unfocused at first, then sharpening. She saw him, really saw him, and for just a moment, before the shock registered, he watched her face do something he'd seen in 1,000 soldiers. Relief, the kind that comes when you realize you survived. Then the shock hit. "Dad." The word cracked between them like small arms fire. He pulled a chair close, sat down heavy. "Sarah, I can explain." "Can you?" His voice stayed quiet, the kind of quiet that preceded storms. "Can you explain why I'm looking at my daughter in a combat hospital? Can you explain why you've been in a war zone for—" He glanced at her chart. "8 months while I thought you were writing papers on European diplomacy?" She tried to sit up, winced. He reached out instinctively to steady her, and she pulled back. Not from pain, from something else. "Don't," she said. "Don't help me because you're my father. Not here. That's exactly why I'm helping you. Because I am your father. Here you're a general. I'm a private. That's all." He sat back, studied her. The set of her jaw was his. The stubborn fire in her eyes. That was her mother. But the hollow look behind it, the weight that aged a face 10 years in 10 seconds, that was combat. That was real. "How?" he asked. She exhaled slowly, each breath testing her ribs. "Changed my name on the paperwork. Used Mom's maiden name, Morrison. Enlisted under Sarah Morrison. No one connected it." "Your mother knew?" "No one knew. Sarah, I needed to do this without you." The words came fast, defensive. "Without your name. Without people saluting me because of who I'm related to. I needed to know if I could actually do this. Do what? Get blown up? Prove something to nobody. Prove something to myself. Her voice sharpened. Do you know what it's like? Being General Hayes's daughter? Every room I walk into, people already have opinions. Every achievement gets an asterisk. Oh well, her father's a 4-star, so obviously. I wanted one thing in my life that was mine, that I earned. Hayes felt something crack in his chest. Not anger, something worse. Understanding. So you joined the infantry. Logistics. Supply corps. I drive trucks. Deliver equipment. It's not like I'm kicking down doors. You got hit by an IED. So did a lot of people today. I'm not special. You are to me. The room went quiet except for the machines and the distant sound of a helicopter landing outside. Sarah looked away. I knew you'd react like this. Like what? Like a father who just discovered his daughter's been in combat. Like I'm fragile. Like I made a mistake. Like I need to be protected. You do need to be protected. That's what parents do. Not here. She met his eyes again, and this time there was steel in her voice. Here. I'm just another soldier. And I was doing fine before you found out. Hayes opened his mouth. Closed it. Opened it again. Fine? Sarah, you're in a hospital bed. So are 6 other people from my convoy. You going to visit all of them? Tell them they made mistakes. That's not fair. Neither is this. She gestured at the space between them. I've been here 8 months, Dad. 8 months. I pulled my weight. Earned my place. And in one afternoon, that's all going to disappear because now everyone knows. Knows what? That I'm the general's daughter. Her voice cracked. They're going to think everything I did was because of you. Every assignment. Every commendation. Every time I didn't get yelled at or disciplined. They're going to think I had help. Hayes leaned forward. Did you? The question hung between them like smoke. Sarah's jaw tightened. No, I didn't. I worked twice as hard to make sure nobody could ever say that. Then let them think what they want. You know the truth. That's easy for you to say. You've never had to prove yourself to anyone. You think I haven't? Hayes's voice finally rose, just a fraction. You think wearing stars means people don't question every decision? Every promotion? You think they don't whisper about who I knew? What strings I pulled? Whose ass I kissed to get here? It's not the same. It's exactly the same. The only difference is I stopped caring what they thought 30 years ago. Sarah turned her head away. A tear slid down her cheek. She wiped it fast, angry at herself. Hayes sat back. Let the silence breathe. Outside, the bass moved with its constant rhythm. Voices. Engines. The low thrum of generators keeping a war alive. When you were 6, he said quietly, you asked me why I was always leaving. I told you it was because people needed help. You asked if you could come help too. I said someday. She didn't respond. I meant when you were older. When you were ready. When I could keep you safe. I am older. I am ready. And you can't keep me safe. Not here. Not anywhere. He knew she was right. Hated that she was right. Your mother is going to kill both of us, he said finally. Sarah almost smiled. That's the first true thing you've said. A doctor appeared at the tent entrance, clipboard in hand, professional smile in place. General Hayes? I can brief you on Private Hayes's condition if... Morrison, Sarah interrupted. Private Morrison. The doctor glanced between them, confused. It's Morrison, Sarah repeated. That's the name on my paperwork. Hayes looked at his daughter, at the determination in her eyes, at the uniform that had earned stains the hard way. Morrison, he confirmed. The doctor nodded slowly. Right. Private Morrison is stable. We're keeping her overnight for observation. Barring complications, she can return to light duty in 3 weeks. No, Hayes said. Sarah's head snapped toward him. Dad. General, he corrected quietly. Then to the doctor. What's your medical recommendation? Not what she wants. What does her body need? The doctor hesitated, glanced at Sarah, back to Hayes. 6 weeks. Minimum. The The shoulder needs proper healing time. Returning to convoy duty too early risks permanent damage. Then 6 weeks it is. Dad. General, he said again. Firmer this time. And you will follow medical orders, Private. That's not a father talking. That's your commanding officer. Sarah's face went red. You don't get to do this. You don't get to use your rank. I absolutely do. Because if I don't and you go back out there before you're ready and something happens, that's on me. And I've carried enough. I won't carry that. They stared at each other. A standoff with no winners. The doctor cleared his throat. I'll give you two a moment. He left. The silence returned, heavier this time. This is exactly what I was afraid of, Sarah said, voice thick. The moment you found out, everything changed. You're damn right it changed. Because pretending you're not my daughter doesn't keep you safe. It just means I can't protect you. I don't want your protection. Too bad. His voice finally cracked through the control. You don't get to make that choice anymore. You're a soldier under my command. I have a responsibility to every person in this theater, and that includes you, especially you. So I'm going to get special treatment, just like I always do. No, you're going to get the same treatment as everyone else, which means following medical orders and recovering properly before returning to duty. That's standard. That's procedure. That's what I would tell anyone. But you wouldn't fly here to tell anyone. He couldn't argue with that. Sarah wiped her eyes again. Angry tears this time. I just wanted to be normal. You're a Hayes. Normal isn't in our DNA. That's not funny. It wasn't meant to be. They sat in the weight of it. Father and daughter. General and private. Two people trying to figure out how to be both at once. Finally, Hayes stood. I have a briefing in 20 minutes. I'll be back tomorrow. You don't have to. Yes, I do. He paused at the tent entrance. And Sarah? For what it's worth. I'm proud of you. Terrified. Angry. But proud. She didn't answer. He didn't expect her to. As he walked through the hospital compound, soldiers snapped to attention. He returned salutes mechanically, his mind elsewhere. On a daughter he thought he knew. On choices he couldn't undo. On a war that kept taking pieces of people he loved. His aide found him outside the command center. Sir? The briefing. I know. Hayes straightened his uniform. Pushed everything down deep where generals keep their personal wars. Let's go. But as he entered the room full of maps and markers and men waiting for orders, he couldn't stop thinking about dog tags with the wrong name. About blood earned without acknowledgement. About a daughter who wanted to be ordinary in an extraordinary way. And he wondered, not for the first time, what courage really cost. The word spread through the base like smoke through a tent. Within 24 hours, every soldier in the 3rd Brigade combat team knew the truth. General Hayes's daughter, here, among them, had been among them for 8 months. In the mess hall, conversations stopped when Sarah walked by. Not out of respect, out of calculation. People measuring her differently now, counting backwards through interactions. Wondering what had been real and what had been nepotism wearing camouflage. She'd returned to her unit against medical advice. Well, not against, around it. The doctor said 6 weeks before convoy duty. Didn't say anything about admin work. So she showed up at the supply depot with her arm in a sling and her jaw set. Staff Sergeant Torres looked up from inventory sheets. Morrison. Sergeant. Sarah stood at ease. Or tried to. Her ribs disagreed. Heard you got bounced around pretty good. I'm fine. Also heard some interesting news about your family tree. There it was. The edge she'd been dreading. Sergeant, Torres held up a hand. You going to tell me your old man pulled strings to get you that Bronze Star recommendation I submitted last month? Sarah's face went white. What Bronze Star? The one you earned when you stayed with that burning supply truck and dragged the ammunition crates away from the flames. Remember that? Or did Daddy help you forget? I didn't know about any recommendation. Course you didn't, because I submitted it under Morrison. Just like all your evaluations. Just like every citation for good work you've done here. Torres leaned back. So here's my question, Private. Did your father help you with any of that? No, Sergeant. Did he know you were even here? No, Sergeant. Then why the hell are you standing in my supply depot, looking like you owe someone an apology? Sarah blinked. I thought. You thought we'd what? Turn on you? Think less of you. Torres shook her head. Kid, half this unit came from nothing. We're used to people assuming we don't belong. The difference is you actually proved yourself before anyone knew your name. That counts for something. Tell that to the people whispering in the mess hall. People always whisper. Let them. Torres tapped the inventory sheet. You want to be useful? Help me figure out why we're missing 3 pallets of MREs. I don't care who your daddy is. I care that we're short food and someone's either stealing or can't count. Sarah almost smiled. Yes, Sergeant. And Morrison? Yeah. That sling means you're not lifting anything over 5 pounds. Doctor's orders are doctor's orders. Even if you're trying to prove something. I'm not. Torres raised an eyebrow. Okay, maybe a little. Do it on your own time. On mine, you follow medical guidance. Clear? Clear, Sergeant. But not everyone was Torres. Not everyone looked past the name. In the NCO tent that night, voices carried through canvas walls. I'm just saying it's convenient. She gets hit by an IED and suddenly she's back on light duty? Anyone else would be stuck in medical for weeks. Maybe her injuries weren't as bad. Or maybe Daddy made a phone call. Sarah stood outside, frozen. She'd been heading back from the latrine. Now she stood in the dark, listening to her own unit dissect her. You see how fast they're processing that Bronze Star wreck? Torres submitted it Friday. Usually takes months. Doesn't seem fair to the rest of us. Nothing about this is fair. We're busting our asses, and she's probably got a guaranteed ticket home whenever she wants. Sarah's hands clenched. The instinct to burst in, to defend herself, to make them understand. It burned hot in her chest. But what would she say? That she'd worked twice as hard? That she'd earned every evaluation? They wouldn't believe her. They'd already decided. She turned and walked the other way, past the motor pool, past the command tents, to the perimeter fence where light gave way to dark and the desert stretched out like an answer to questions nobody was asking. Someone cleared their throat behind her. She turned fast. Too fast. Her ribs screamed protest. Easy. Corporal Jackson raised his hands. He'd been on her convoy. Had helped her out of the wreckage, actually. Just checking you're okay. I'm fine. That's what you said when you were bleeding. And I was fine then too. Jackson leaned against the fence. Quiet for a moment. They don't know you, he said finally. What? The people talking. They weren't in that convoy. They didn't see you drag Private Chun away from the burning vehicle. They didn't see you stay calm when everyone else was screaming. They don't know what you did. They just know your last name. Sarah's throat tightened. And you? I know what I saw. He looked at her directly. I know that when that IED hit, you didn't freeze. You didn't cry. You got up, checked if anyone was hurt worse than you, and started doing your job. That's who you are. Not who your father is. Tell that to them. I will. Jackson pushed off the fence. Already started, actually. Word gets around both ways. The truth just travels slower than bullshit. He headed back toward the tents. Stopped. Turned. By the way, thanks for pulling me out. Never said that properly. He was gone before she could respond. Sarah stood alone at the fence, desert wind pulling at her uniform, and felt something shift. Not relief. Not vindication. Just the smallest recognition that maybe not everyone had already decided who she was. 3 days later, General Hayes returned to the hospital compound. Not for Sarah. For a Purple Heart ceremony. 12 soldiers. Routine awards. The kind of thing he did weekly. Sarah attended. Standing in the back row. Arm still in a sling. Name tag reading Morrison. Hayes worked down the line. Shook hands. Offered words. His face stayed professional, distant. This was the general, not the father. When he reached the last soldier, a private barely 20 years old with both legs bandaged, he paused. Went off script. What's your name, son? Private First Class David Chun, sir. Hayes glanced at the citation. Says here you refused evacuation until your entire team was secured. Yes, sir. Why? Chun hesitated. Sir, there was someone still in the vehicle. I couldn't leave them. Who? Private Morrison, sir. She was trapped under debris. I pulled her out. Hayes's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. I see. She tried to tell me to go. Said she was fine. But she wasn't fine, sir. None of us were. Chen's voice grew stronger. Morrison saved my life first, though. When the flames hit the ammunition crates, she dragged them away from the vehicle. If she hadn't, we'd all have been inside when they cooked off. The ceremony tent was silent. Is that right? Hayes looked across the crowd. Found Sarah. Their eyes met. Yes, sir, Chen continued. She doesn't talk about it. But we all know. Half this unit owes her. Hayes turned back to Chen. Extended his hand again. Thank you for telling me that, Private. After the ceremony, Hayes walked past Sarah without stopping. Professional distance. Proper protocol. But as he passed, he said quietly, just loud enough for her to hear, Good work, Private Morrison. She stood a little straighter. Thank you, sir. And for the first time since the hospital, something in her chest loosened. The real test came 2 weeks later. Convoy briefing. Standard supply run to Forward Operating Base Apache. 40 miles through hostile territory. They needed volunteers. Sarah raised her hand. Torres frowned. Morrison, you're still on light duty. Cleared by medical yesterday, Sergeant. Full duty status. She slid the paperwork across the desk. Torres read it. Looked up. You sure about this? Yes, Sergeant. Because no one's going to think less of you if you wait another week. I'm ready. Torres studied her. Not with doubt. With something else. Recognition, maybe, of someone who needed to prove something to herself more than anyone else. Okay, you're on. Truck 3. Jackson's driving. The convoy rolled out at dawn. 6 vehicles. 24 soldiers. Sarah in the third truck, manning the radio, watching the landscape roll by in shades of brown and danger. Jackson glanced over. How are the ribs? Fine. You say that a lot. Because it's true a lot. They drove in silence. The kind that exists between people who've seen the same bad day. Halfway to the FOB, the radio crackled. Lead vehicle reporting possible IED marker ahead. Everyone tightened. Sarah watched the road. The dust. The places where dirt looked wrong. There, she said quietly. What? Left side. 30 meters. Fresh dig. Wrong color. Jackson squinted. Keyed the radio. Lead, this is 3. Possible secondary device left side. 30 meters past your position. Static. Then, confirm visual. Good eye 3. The convoy adjusted. Took a wider route. Avoided the kill zone. They made it to Apache without incident. Unloaded. Rested. Started back. On the return trip, dust rose on the horizon. Not wind. Vehicles. Contact likely. Came the call from lead. Technical vehicles approaching fast. All trucks prepare for engagement. Sarah's training kicked in. She moved from radio to weapon mount. Checked ammunition. Controlled her breathing. The technical vehicles closed. 3 of them. Heavy machine guns mounted in the beds. Hold fire until my command. The convoy commander ordered. Let them commit. The tension stretched. 200 meters. 150. 100. Weapons free. The convoy erupted. Controlled fire from multiple positions. Sarah acquired her target. A gunner in the lead technical. She breathed out. Squeezed. The gunner dropped. She shifted to the next threat. Fired again. Clean hit. Jackson was shouting into the radio. Something about flanking movement. Sarah saw it. A 4th vehicle swinging wide right, trying to get position on the rear trucks. I've got the flanker, she called. Morrison, that's a long shot. She fired. Once, twice, 3 times. The driver slumped. The technical veered off, hit a ditch, stopped moving. 15 seconds later, The remaining hostiles broke off, disappeared into the desert like smoke. The convoy reformed, continued home, alive. In the debrief tent, the convoy commander reviewed footage from the vehicle cameras. He paused on Sarah's shots, replayed them. Morrison. Sir. Hell of a shooting. Thank you, sir. Where'd you learn that? The tent waited. Sarah felt the weight of eyes, felt the question beneath the question. Camp Pendleton, sir. Marksmanship course. Advanced placement. How'd you score? Expert qualification, sir. And that last shot? The driver at distance. Training, sir. Practice. Same as everyone else. The commander studied her. Same as everyone else? Yes, sir. He nodded slowly. Good work. Dismissed. As she left the tent, she heard someone whisper, maybe she actually can shoot. Another voice, or maybe she just got lucky. Sarah kept walking. She didn't need them to believe her. She just needed to keep doing the work. That night, her phone buzzed. A text from a number she hadn't expected to see. Her father. Heard about the convoy. Well done. She stared at the screen, typed and deleted 3 responses. Finally settled on, thank you. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Your mother wants to know when you're calling. Sarah smiled despite herself. Tell her I'm busy being a soldier. I did. She said that's not an excuse. Tell her I'll call Sunday. Will do. Stay safe, kid. She almost wrote back. Almost said something about how hard this was. How lonely. How every day felt like proving herself all over again. Instead, she wrote, you too, Dad, and turned off the phone. Weeks became months. Sarah's name, both of them, became just another part of the base landscape. Some people still whispered. Most stopped caring. There was too much work to do. Too many real problems to solve. To spend energy on gossip that didn't feed anyone or fix anything. Torres pulled her aside one afternoon. You've been here almost a year. Yes, Sergeant. You planning to extend? Sarah hadn't thought that far ahead. She'd been so focused on surviving each day, on proving herself in each moment, that the future had seemed like a luxury. I don't know, she admitted. Well, figure it out, because I'm putting you up for E4, and I need to know if you're sticking around to wear the rank. You're recommending me for specialist? You're surprised. I just thought that your name would hold you back? Torres shook her head. Morrison, you've done the work. You've earned the rank. The only person still questioning whether you deserve it is you. Sarah felt something crack open in her chest. Not doubt. Something opposite. Something like permission to believe in herself. I'll extend, she said. Good. Now get out of my office. I've got inventory that won't count itself. 6 months later, Sarah stood in formation wearing specialist rank and a chest full of decorations she'd earned the hard way. Her father stood among the reviewing officers, not at the center, not making speeches, just another general attending another ceremony on another base. When the formation dismissed, he approached. Formal, proper, Specialist Morrison, General Hayes. They shook hands, professional, distant to anyone watching. But his grip lingered just a moment, and his voice, barely above a whisper, said what his rank wouldn't let him say in public. I'm proud of you, Sarah. She squeezed back. I know, Dad. He released her hand, stepped back, returned to the general he needed to be. Sarah watched him go, felt the weight of what she'd done, the name she'd hidden, the truth that came out anyway, the work she'd done despite it all. She'd wanted to prove herself without his shadow. But maybe that was impossible. Maybe the shadow would always be there. The difference was, now she knew she could stand in it and still cast her own light. Around her, soldiers moved through their day. Some knew who she was. Some didn't. All of them had their own shadows to stand in, their own names to live up to or live down. Sarah adjusted her cover, squared her shoulders, headed back to the supply depot. There was work to do, inventory to manage, convoys to run, a war to fight, and she was just another soldier doing her part. That was enough. That was everything.